Hello. Thank you for your interest in our Social Emotional Learning Winter Series. This is a 6-part series with our friend, Kendra Cram. Kendra is a social emotional learning teacher for the Minford Elementary School in Minford, Ohio. In her position, she teaches weekly SEL lessons to approximately 600 students grades kindergarten through 5th. As a result of her work, the students at Minford Elementary have over 200 hours of conversations on SEL topics such as self-awareness, decision-making, anger management, and much more before transitioning to middle school. Kendra earned a bachelor's degree in elementary education K-8 with an emphasis in intervention for students with learning and behavior disabilities and a master's degree in school counseling. Kendra's work has been highlighted by multiple media outlets from podcasts to national television programs like This Is Life with Lisa Lang. Her work has served as a model for numerous schools in Ohio and beyond. Kendra is passionate about trauma-informed care and providing mental health education and support to all children. Kendra also provides training to help equip her fellow teachers with the tools to support the children they serve. She is also a single mom to 3 amazing children. This series is brought to you by the West Virginia Behavior and Mental Health Technical Assistance Center. It is a collaboration between the West Virginia Autism Training Center and the West Virginia Department of Education. Video 3 of the 6-part series is on emotional regulation.
Hi, I'm Kendra Cram, and I teach social emotional learning. I want to start by reminding you how I always structure my lessons. I always start with introducing the social emotional learning concept that I'm going to be teaching today and giving some direct instruction on and breaking down that concept for the students to be able to say, this is exactly what we're talking about, and breaking it down into as many steps as I possibly can. The next thing that I do is I always add a read-along or a bibliotherapy in order to connect the kids with some literature with that concept. The last thing I always do in my SEL lessons is I incorporate some play on how we're going to practice or play with that concept in order to build skills on that social emotional learning concept. Okay, let's dive right in. Today, what we're going to talk about is emotional regulation and coping skills. And on this video, I could probably do 3 different videos because there's so much content and so many things to cover on coping skills and how to regulate our emotions. The first thing that I want to talk about, though, is the zones of regulation. And we talked about this in the other videos about the blue zone, the green zone, the yellow zone, and the red zone. So I'm going to just super briefly clarify that. The blue zone is when my body's moving slowly. I might be sad or bored or tired. The green zone is where I'm good to go. It's where my brain is working the best. It's where I feel good and happy and peaceful. The yellow zone, my body's moving too quickly on the inside. I might feel nervous or embarrassed or overly excited or hyper. And the red zone is where I feel out of control. I might feel furious, super angry, and I'm kind of losing control when I'm in the red zone. I remind kids that anything that we feel is normal, that everybody feels all of these and goes into the different zones at different times, and that's normal. But what I want to talk today and focus on today is that we can regulate our emotions. And I talk to kids about how this is kind of like a fish tank. We regulate the temperature on a fish tank to make sure that the fish is nice and cozy and comfy and feeling good. I don't want my fish tank to be too hot, and I don't want it to be too cold. So when I notice that the fish tank is too hot, what do? I just turn down the temperature a little bit to regulate the temperature so that my fish is happy and in the green zone where it's good to go and feeling good and peaceful. I don't want my fish to get too cold. So if the temperature is too cold, I might regulate the temperature. I'm going to just make some adjustments to help make sure that my fish is happy. And it's the same thing that I do for inside myself whenever I'm having different emotions. I'm going to regulate my emotions and I'm going to make some adjustments and do some things to help me feel better because I like feeling good. Everyone likes to feel in the green zone where they're happy, peaceful, and calm. Even though it's normal to feel all of these emotions, I like being in the green zone. So I'm going to do some things to regulate my emotions. These things are called coping skills, and they're tools that I can use and I can carry around to use anytime I'm feeling big emotions, which we all feel. So we talk about very specifically, like if I'm in the blue zone, I might be sad, tired, or bored. And I'm moving slowly, or I might be having my head on the desk, or I might be sick. And there's some things that I can do when I'm in the blue zone. So we talk specifically about each zone and how I might do different things when I'm in the blue zone than I do when I'm in the red zone. Or I might do different things when I'm in the yellow zone than I use when I'm in the blue zone, because different things help me at different times. If I'm in the blue zone, I might ask to take a break or talk to an adult or listen to music or draw a picture or do something to move my body or ask for a hug. In all of these zones, and you can find all of these posters on Teachers Pay Teachers, just search for zones of regulation, and you'll find all kinds of tools to help you to teach kids about how there's different coping skills for each of the zones of regulation. Another thing that I'm going to talk about is when I'm introducing the content of coping skills. And so I'm going to talk about what are my stressors. What are the things that trigger me? I call them my panic buttons. And you can push here, and I'm okay, I can handle that. But when you push right here, it triggers me, or that's my panic button. It makes me really, really upsets me. So recognizing and knowing what those are for me that might be different for you, really helps kids to get on top of that or get ahead of those things that bother them, and to recognize, wait a minute, that's a trigger for me. It just happened. I need to do some of my coping skills and to calm down. One of the things that I talk to kids about is how our brain works and how our brain and our emotions interact with each other. So when we teach kids this, it helps it to make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to talk to them very directly and using some of my posters here about the different parts of our brain and how that affects us with our emotions. We talk about how sometimes when we're in our downstairs brain or our survival part of our brain, that's just the part of our brain that reacts to situations. And it doesn't always, it's not the good thinking part of our brain. So I'm talking to kids about this. We talk about our prefrontal cortex, and our prefrontal cortex is the part of our brain that does the good thinking and can reason and process things. There's a lot of great YouTube videos out there about this that you can show your students to help them understand the difference between the downstairs and upstairs brain. But the point of it is that when I'm having great big emotions, I'm not using the good thinking part of my brain. So learning how to calm down my body and calm down my emotions helps me to be able to access the good thinking part of my brain so that I can get in the green zone where I'm happy, focused, and calm and ready to learn. Teaching kids this helps them to recognize that in order to change their day and turn their day around when they find themselves having big emotions. I'm going to talk to them specifically about big emotions that we all experience all the time and how to recognize when they're a little bit bigger than what they need to be. Some things that we can do and steps that we can take anytime we catch ourselves having big emotions. And this one says stop and name the emotion as step number 1. Step number 2, focus on your belly breathing. And step number 3, use positive self-talk and make good choices. So these are specific things that we can do when we catch ourselves having those big emotions. The next thing I talk to the kids about is the 6 things that trick us. And these are things that trick us every time, and they work on all of us. These 6 things that if I'm not getting these 6 things, these 6 needs met, my emotions are going to trick me into being bigger than what they need to be. So the first one is food, and we all can recognize that one because we've all been hangry before. So anytime that I am having big emotions, one of the things I want to check is, am I hungry? All kids can identify with that because they've all felt hungry, and that's how I sell them on the other 5, which are water. We all need to be getting enough to drink because we know that even mild dehydration really affects our emotions. So food, water, and the next one is rest. We all need enough rest, sunshine, exercise, and connection to other people. So if I find myself, I'm talking to kids and teaching kids that if I find myself having great big emotions, I'm going to check my 6 things. Have I had enough connection to other people? Have I had enough sunshine lately? Have I had enough rest? Those 6 things are things that trick me. And when I teach kids this directly, they pause and can learn how to when I teach kids this directly, the kids can learn how to press the pause button and say, wait a minute, am I just hungry here? Or do I need to rest? Or maybe I haven't been outside all day and I need to put down my screen for a while and go get some sunshine. And kids start learning to recognize and to self-monitor what it is they're needing and lacking. So all of these things I'm going to talk to the kids about and brainstorm with them a whole bunch of coping skills that they can do anytime they're having big emotions or anytime they find themselves not in the green zone. Things like taking a walk or listening to music or talking to a friend or giving a hug or snuggling with your pet. These are tools that the kids can start to realize, wait a minute, I'm in the blue zone. I want to be in the green zone. I'm going to regulate or make some adjustments. I'm going to use some of my coping skills. So we brainstorm and do all kinds of activities with the coping skills in order to remind the kids anytime when they're in their normal life, oh, I remember from SEL class, we can do this skill right now. So I want to show you some books that I might read in my classroom that go along with some coping skills and how to do it. One of my favorites is called The Good Egg. And this is such a good, it's the perfect social emotional learning book. It's called The Good Egg. And one of the things that The Good Egg explores that really helps us with regulating our emotions is what is inside my control and what is outside my control. And so the kids will do a picture sort with what's in and what's outside of my control to be able to navigate through the things in their life. This one is my very favorite. It's Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. And the kids love to read this book because there's a repetition. This sentence is repeated throughout the book, so the kids all do it very dramatically when it gets to that part. And that's very fun. But Alexander in this book is having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. And everything that can happen to Alexander happens to him, and his day is terrible. We talk about what coping skill could he have used at this part in the story to turn his day around? What coping skill could he have used at this part in the story to turn his day around? So this is a really great book to launch to talk about when you're having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, which we all have sometimes. What are some things that you can do to stop, push the pause button, use some of your coping skills, and turn your day around? Here's another read aloud I might use. It's called Listening to My Body. And it's really about the clues that my body gives me that I might be having some different emotions, and then how to calm my body down in order to regulate my emotions. This is a really cute one. It's called The Problem with Problems. And it's talking about all the different problems that we might have and how to solve them. This is a great book for older kids. It's called Of Course It's a Big Deal, a story about learning how to react calmly and appropriately. And this is the character in this book is a middle schooler. So older kids can really relate to this book, and it gives the character some ideas on ways that they can react calmly to the situations that he might face throughout the day. And the character is having all kinds of problems and learns some coping tools in order how to handle his problems in an effective way. This is one I use for younger kids about coping skills, and it's when Sophie gets angry, really, really angry, and she's furious. You can tell by her facial expression there. And she does some things to get herself calm and into the green zone. This is a really fun one for Halloween time, Frankenstein, and he is a cranky boy. And it looks like it's about Frankenstein, but really in the end of the book, it is just a little boy who has been cranky all day. So that's a really fun book and about how he used coping skills to turn his day around. The next one is Bax and his Bubbles, all about a kid and his thoughts. And throughout this book, this character has bubbles that show his thought life and how he takes his thoughts and turns those around in a positive way to change his day. This is another one for older kids. What were you thinking? A story about learning to control your impulses. And the do-over day, how we can start our day over when we catch ourselves having a bad day. The next one is I Can Handle It. In this book, it talks about a problem and gives 3 different coping skills for how to handle that problem in an effective way. The next thing that we're going to talk about is play and how we incorporate play into talking about emotional regulation. Of all my classes, the kids look forward to the most is my Twister game. Conveniently, Twister matches all the zones, the same colors of for the zones of regulation is on the Twister game. So there's green dots, yellow dots, blue dots, and red dots, just like what's on my zones. So the kids will come up and the kids, first of all, choose a partner. And this is their support person. One of the things I want to talk to kids about is this connection to others. And that anytime we're going through a hard time, we need a support person. So first of all, when they're playing the game, they choose a support person. The support person always says, I'm here to support you. And then the whole class chimes in and says, we're all here to support you. So the kid that's playing spins and lands on the blue zone. So they go ahead and put one foot or hand on the blue circle. And then they'll talk about some coping skills that they can do to get to the green zone. If they can't come up with an idea themselves, then they will ask their support person for some ideas. So they'll spin again. That tells them where their next foot or hand goes. And then they get themselves, after they've gotten themselves all twisted up, they get themselves to the green zone where all their hands and feet are on the green circles by talking about the coping skills that they're going to use to get themselves out of that twisted situation. So that's super fun, and the kids always love to play Twister and talking about the zones of regulation. The next thing that we might do is play around the room, where we have the different zones or different emotions or even different scenarios around the room. And the kids will go with a partner from one place to another and talk about what are some things, some coping skills that you can use for this problem. What are some coping skills that you can use if you were in this situation? Another fun one that we do is we make a graffiti wall where the kids draw and use markers to create a beautiful graffiti wall of all the different coping skills that we've brainstormed in class. One of the activities is a coping skills wheel where we look at, I'm always wanting to provide the kids with lots of things to take home with a list of coping skills so that way they have some resources. And I always tell them, put this in your bedside table or somewhere close to you so that you can pull it out whenever you are having a really, really rough day. And you can try some different things out. Different things work for different people and different things work at different times. So I might give them lists and posters of things that they can do for when they're feeling stressed out or when they're having a bad day, some ideas of coping skills. For the older kids, I give them more detailed list, and we take highlighters and go through and highlight some things that would work for them or that appeal to them. Some things that they want to put at the front of their mind that, yeah, that one would work for me, or no, I'm not so into that one. So that's another thing for the older kids. Another game that we play is called Help Me Cope, I'm at the End of My Rope. And in that game, we take a jump rope that has different knots. And again, it has a support person at one end. And that support person is holding that rope saying, I'm not going to let you go. I'm right here to support you. The kid at the other end of the rope is going to talk about coping skills to get up in the different knots of the rope and pull themselves out of their situation by using their coping skills. That's a fun one that the kids always enjoy. One of the concepts I always want to talk to my kids about is how the size of my reaction needs to match the size of my problem. I don't want to have a great big reaction to something that's a small problem, like not getting a piece of candy at the grocery store. That's a too big of a reaction for a very, very small problem. At the same time, it's not very safe to have a small reaction to a great big problem. And that's a safety issue, because if I have a great big problem, I probably need a big reaction in order to stay safe. I definitely need to go and get some help from an adult that I trust. So it's important for safety and just for normal life to be able to have our size of our reaction to match the size of our problem. So that's something that we're going to talk about a lot here. The next thing that you want to do is you want to have a lesson on coping skills and have the kids brainstorm a list of a bunch of coping skills that they can use to have tools for anytime they find themselves not in the green zone. You want to talk to their kids about the 6 things that might trigger them and trick them into having bigger emotions and what they can do to be able to bring their emotions down. Are they hungry? Do they need a drink? Do they need to rest or sunshine or exercise or connection with others? And last of all, we're going to talk to our kids about regulating our emotions and how to turn your day around. You want to incorporate these skills of emotional regulation into your classroom every day. So we're going to do that by saying things like, is your reaction matching your problem? And what can we control right now and what can we not control? We might say things like, it seems that this is triggering you right now. Or we might even have a display in the quiet corner of all the different coping skills, so that anytime a kid finds themselves uncomfortable, they can go there and pick and look at the menu of different options for them for coping skills that they can use to help get themselves back to a place where they're good to go and ready to learn. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.
For additional resources, please visit the West Virginia Early Childhood Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports website at www.wvecpbis.org. Thank you for viewing video 3 of our 6-part series for social emotional learning. If you would have any questions, contact us at kelly9@marshall.edu or at 304-696-2332. Be on the lookout for our next video, which will be on emotional check-in.